Good morning. Thank you for investing the time today as we explore what a frontier firm is and how Microsoft and Transparity are helping businesses transform in the era of AI. I'm Dean Carroll, the Managing Director of AI Business Solutions Practice at Transparity. If you're already working with us, you will have experienced the straightforward and collaborative approach of our consultants. If you're new to Transparity, however, let me just introduce our business for you. So we are the UK's most accredited Microsoft partner. Essentially, we're one of the very best technical and consulting partner choices for any organization betting on Microsoft technology or considering doing so. We're a UK-focused business of 400 people. We're singularly dedicated to Microsoft, working cross industries, helping our customers scale, add productivity, build resilience, and operate with agility. 100 of those people are aligned to business applications and business process transformation, underpinned by CRM, ERP, and the wider Microsoft AI business productivity tools. So our agenda for the next 75 minutes. Delighted that we're joined by Jessica Ho. Today, Jessica is the lead for AI business process and transformation at Microsoft, and we'll be expanding on the concept of a frontier firm and why those organizations are poised to surge ahead. Then my colleague James Drew will explore the how, specifically how AI adoption within frontier firms is turning into competitive advantage. James will introduce our second special guest this morning, Mark Armstrong from Omex Group, Omex being one of the Transparity customers who we are supporting on a transformation journey. Next on the agenda is Josh Anglesey and Mark Rossinis, who will bring the frontier concept to life with a series of short demos, showcasing how business process can be reimagined for a hybrid workforce. Finally, James will be back for a wrap-up. Again, thanks for joining us this morning. The chat is open. If there's questions that you have or observations you want to make during the presentation, please do so, although we do have some time at the end of the session as part of the wrap-up for questions as well. Just before I hand over to Jess, just a few more words about Transparity to conclude our introduction. As I said, we are actually Microsoft's most certified partner, holding all 6 solution designations and over 20 specializations. We're also proudly a global Microsoft Partner of the Year award winner for 2025. Our most recent accreditation is Microsoft recognizing Transparity as a frontier partner. We were the very first in the UK. This status recognizing how we are driving transformation for customers, taking an AI-first but human-led approach. It recognizes our work in helping organizations reimagine business models and how they create value in the AI era. Our consultants are helping customers completely reevaluate how work gets done, working with them to reimagine processes in the context of access to untapped and unlimited synthetic intelligence. At Transparity, we are our own case study for this. We are essentially customer zero. We have been reimagining our business, introducing agents into our methodologies and our business process to advance our own business. And finally, as part of that Frontier Partner accreditation, we've had to demonstrate our market impact through our customers' case studies and the depth of our technical certification of our team. We're very proud to hold that Frontier Partner status and to have the opportunity to talk to you today about our work with our customers. And so, Jess, if I can ask you to take control and walk us through the Frontier firm from Microsoft's perspective.
Thank you for the intro, Dean, and really great to hear that you guys are one of the first partners to have the Frontier Partner badge as well. So really pleased to be on this call today. So I will go to the next slide, and just the topic for today is the Frontier Firm perspective. And I'm pulling from some of the research that Microsoft does on an annual basis, which is called the Work Trend Index, pulling from some of the behaviors we're seeing with customers that we work with, and hopefully give you a little bit of inspiration of what you can take back to make your firm a Frontier Firm as well. So I'm going to start with lots of stats, but I'm going to start with some stats. So same time last year when I was doing this keynote, I was actually spending a lot of time explaining the differences between Copilot and Agents. But this has changed so much in the past year. We're definitely entering a new reality, one in which AI can reason, plan, and act. And very much like an industrial revolution or the internet era, this is a very big structural shift in how organizations operate. So IDC projects that businesses will deploy over 1.3 billion AI agents by 2028. And 82% of organizations plan to integrate agents into their processes within the next 1 to 3 years. And this is not just, some automation of processes or like task activities. It's completely kind of overlaying agents and AI into your everyday tools. So 40% of enterprise applications will be integrated with task-specific agents by 2026. And that is up from less than what was 5% last year. So it's a significant increase, and it really is changing the way that business operates and how organizations organize themselves. So what does that really mean for an organization? How do you stay at the front of the curve? What is a frontier firm? So I'll talk through a little bit of the definition. And as I mentioned, we have this really great annual research called the Work Trend Index. If you just Google Work Trend Index, you'll find it. It was one of the first search results. And it looks into like global surveys, observations of workers and organizations, and identifies some of the trends that are reshaping the way we work. And what I love about this research, it doesn't talk a lot about tech. It's a lot about people, skilling, and operations. And they found these patterns in what we call frontier firms. So one is these firms have the ability to buy intelligence on tap. So with higher demands, you need more capacity. You also are trying to maybe just embed intelligence into your workflows bit by bit. And that is, you need that ability to buy intelligence or reasoning capability on demand. And so this is a crucial, important way for us to be able to acquire intelligence to scale. The second element is that these agents are changing the way our org charts look like. So rather than, a manager with a lot of people employees, you're going to have both people and agents org charts that are organized around the activities that need to be done at work. And third of all, you'll have what we call the agent boss. And I love this point because there's a lot of implications about skilling, about the younger generation, what skills they need when they're entering the workforce. And that is, interestingly, managerial skills. Everyone needs to be able to have the ability to delegate, to manage agents, to manage a team of agents, and also be responsible for the decisions they make when they're orchestrating agents to do activities. And this is managerial skills that usually, traditionally we would develop over time in your career, but we're saying that even if you're early in the workforce, you need these skills to be able to manage agents and work with agents in your roles to amplify your impact, but also accelerate your own career. And so those are some of the patterns, but we're also looking at some of the different phases where a frontier firm might experience. So starting from phase one, we have an AI agents acting more like an assistant. And so this is more similar to, if you have Copilot or ChatGPT or using Claude, you're probably sending little prompts into that interface and it returns, a meeting summarization or like some almost like replacing your search engine and giving you information. So that's like an assistant. The next phase is kind of what I mentioned. You're going to have agents join your teams, looking at specific tasks. So that could be if you're in a sales role, you might be responding to an RFP. And so rather than a team of like interns and analysts and like a whole team orchestrating around it, you might be working with agents to help you do research, look at previous bids, could create the business case, etc. So that's like human-led agent teams. And the third phase is what we're saying is human-led, but agent-operated. And the example I give here is if you're in supply chain, so rather than using Copilot to give you the status of delivery, you might be using a whole team of agents to completely automate that process of, managing the supplier relationships, resolving exceptions, updating inventory, and kind of, chasing invoices. And so that is human-led, but agent operating across the business process. It's much more complicated than, just responding to an RFP. You're actually needing to access lots of different systems, data records, and performing different roles. And it's like a multi-agent orchestration at play here. So this doesn't have to be a linear journey. We have seen organizations going through all three phases simultaneously. It could be because of different business functions. We're running POCs. It could be different.
Jessica?
Just checking, you still hear me?
Oh, yeah, you're back.
Yeah, perfect. Okay. All right. Yes. So that was some of the definitions we covered, patterns, the phases that frontier firms are going through. And we're also seeing that early adopters that are what we call frontier firms are already experiencing better outcomes than the global average. So 71% of frontier firm employees say that they think their company is thriving versus just 37% globally. Okay. So I'm also going to introduce a concept called the frontier professional. So these are employees at frontier firms, and they are 16% of the AI workers, and they are really sophisticated AI users. They exhibit very specific behaviors. They're advanced users of AI agents. They're redesigning workflows, and they're participating in their company's efforts to scale AI. And the way I think of it is they're almost like champions, but they're also doing process reengineering versus just the tech adoption. And these users are really interesting to observe because while they're using AI the most, they are also the ones that are better at saying no when they need to come to use AI. They're using AI to produce work they couldn't do before, not just replacing what they did do. And 86% of these people treat AI output as a starting point, not necessarily as the answer. So they're making sure that they're staying responsible for the thinking. I think this is super important. I mentioned earlier about the agent boss behavior where people need more managerial skills. And these are, the top performers of those AI users. And they're making sure that they are retaining the human judgment, being strategic, being the manager, and not just outsourcing their job to AI. And I think this is like one of those crucial kind of champions that as an organization you need to support because they are driving the adoption, but also driving the change in the way processes will operate in the organization. Yeah. And so what are some of the things that are changing? So we look at AI can actually expand on how, the processes are changing. We're doing more high value work. And we're finding, again, with these frontier professionals that majority of their activities isn't just, prompt assistant work, returning some data, but it's about analyzing, reasoning, and deciding. And we're also seeing, lots of great examples across companies. Customer service is one that we see a lot in the UK. And like Visa is an example of a company where they're achieving 74% higher CSAT, 88% faster knowledge creation. Actually, just a few days ago, I was speaking to City of Westminster. They recently won the National AI Awards. And they're actually saving 500,000 minutes of just time savings that they can give back to the residents that need more help. So it's like some really great statistics where agents are helping resolving cases, creating knowledge articles, and also just intent and sentiment analysis so that people can, so the agents can actually work with the customers better. Lots of great examples in sales. I kind of mentioned examples of RFP creation, but there's also sales qualification, qualification agent where one of our customers, Sandvik, saved 123 hours in 3 weeks, and there's about 1.2 million projected savings in that time period. And that's just from, qualifying, triaging leads and nurturing leads to be able to give the sales team better quality things that they can do outreach with. Lots of great examples in finance operations, onboarding, HR, internal employee chats. And this is a really exciting space where we're seeing that we're moving from individual tasks to like really end-to-end business process transformation. Okay, so we talked a lot about patterns of firms, we talked about phases, we talked about the frontier professionals and staying human in the loop. And we talked a little bit about some of the process transformation, like ROI and potential that we have. But what is really interesting in this year's Work Trend Index report that came out was that actually there's a lot of organizational factors that are hugely important to whether or not the AI impact is big for the company. And so, yes, individuals are driving a lot of the behavior. People are using a lot of the tools. Everyone's probably tried out Claude and ChatGPT, but there are things like culture, processes, whether or not leadership is aligned with having AI adopted in the company, really helps. Really important to whether or not AI impact can be unlocked in the company. And some of the research findings we found is that sometimes employees are ready. Everyone's actually trying and playing around with tools, experimentation, but 65% of AI users actually fear falling behind because other people are using it. Maybe I'm not. Am I going to lose out if I don't adopt AI fast? 45% of users feel like it's safer to stick to the current ways of working than to redesign work. And 13% of people only feel genuinely awarded for reinventing how work gets done. So with a lot of this tech transformation, especially in early stages, there's a lot of experimentation, there's a lot of credits burned, there's a lot of learning with what works and what is worth it, etc. And that sometimes experimentation isn't protected or rewarded for employees because maybe immediate business value isn't found and like immediate business impact isn't delivered for there to be reinvestment into continued operation, like continued experimentation. So this is what we call a transformation paradox, and almost the same forces in the macro environment is driving us to try out AI, but we're actually not allowing the cultural and the organization space for that growth to happen. So this is a really interesting statistics where I feel like we talk a lot about AI transformation, where IT works with the business departments, but we miss the element where there is actually a huge HR piece here where we're looking at scaling employees, rewards, and how like the org charts operate with both human and agents at play. And so it's a very fascinating space where there's a lot of elements that need to be considered across the organizations with every type of function from IT, HR, finance to the actual business teams to make sure that the AI impact that everyone's trying to drive can actually be realized. I'm just going to leave with like the last slide here, which is, within the next 2 to 5 years, every organization will be on the journey to becoming a frontier firm. So whether or not you feel like where you are in that phase or where you're exploring which team you're trying to experiment with, whether or not you're a frontier professional, there's a huge transformation at play here. And a few things, identify where those processes can be, look into re-architecting your org charts around where human and agents can work together, make sure everyone feel like they can be safe and upskilled to become that agent boss, and that opportunity is there for you to go for. And it's really great that you have, partners like Transparity that are along the journey with Microsoft to also help you do that. So I'm going to pass to the team here to kind of go through what that looks like. And thank you again for joining the call and having me on today's webinar.
Super.
Thanks, Jess. Really fascinating, interesting to see what's happened and the movement in the last year and where it's going over the course of the next 2 to 5 years, as you say. So, and what I'm going to look at now is just how we expect organizations and firms to move towards that frontier view, and most importantly, what pathway is going to take to get there. So, to us, the core pathway is embedding AI into day-to-day work. Simple as that. With Copilot across Dynamics 365, employees can draft responses, can summarize records, can identify next best actions and forecast outcomes, and of course, automate those repetitive tasks using the kind of agents that Jess was just talking about. So this shifts work away from administration and towards the judgment, creativity, and relationship building elements within an organization. And it's key to note as part of that within a frontier firm model, AI isn't and shouldn't be treated as a separate innovation project, but it actually becomes part of how teams sell, serve, analyze, and execute, and most importantly, do so at scale. So with AI within Dynamics 365, it was also promoting excellence through business process standardization, intelligent automation, and biz apps themselves help organizations redesign inconsistent or manual processes into what in effect is more repeatable, measurable workflows. So whether that is, as I've already just mentioned slightly, but whether it's in lead management, case resolution, invoice processing, which we'll learn about in a bit, forecasting, field operations, the platform itself supports stronger governance while still allowing flexibility where it's needed. And that kind of balance is important for frontier firms because of the need for both discipline and, of course, agility to respond to changing and altering market conditions. Biz applications themselves, are helping organizations progress towards that business excellence and the business excellence that's expected of a frontier firm, in essence, by enabling core behaviors such as data-led decision making, such as AI augmented work, connected operations, and of course that continuous adaptation of the different technologies as time goes by. And rather than improving one function in isolation, D365 here is encouraging, and what we're encouraging our clients to do is to put in a more integrated operating model where that sales, service, finance, operations, and customer engagement work all go together on that shared digital foundation. And within that itself, a key pathway is unifying customer and operational data and using D365 to connect that front office and back office processes so that teams can work from a much more complete and current view of those customers, pipeline, service issues, and any kind of supply chain activity. And why does that help? Well, simply it reduces that fragmentation. It helps leaders make faster, better informed decisions. And for frontier firms that we're all aspiring to be or are, then that matters because of competitive advantage that's increasingly coming from how quickly an organization can turn that insight into a related coordinated action. So quite simply, at its core, AI is no longer a single use case or a technology experiment. We'll have a poll later just to see how far along the journey that you people and our guests on the call are. But it's becoming an enterprise-wide capability that changes how organizations engage, operate, decide, and most importantly, innovate, which is at the core of all businesses that we work with and of ourselves, of course. And although I've got 10 items, areas on that, I guess they can really be cordoned off into 4 main themes, namely customer growth, operational efficiency, better decisions and better decision making, and then a stronger aversion to risk and resilience itself. So within that customer engagement piece, AI helps personalize those journeys, anticipate needs, and improve the service quality itself. But most importantly, and something that Jess inferred earlier, doing so at scale. Within operations and productivity, that automation removes the repetitive work. So using those agents to streamline compliance, to reduce costs, and give people more time for the higher value earnings and activity itself. Within insight and innovation, AI can turn market and customer and operational data itself into faster decisions, using better research and quicker experimentation with new products and services. And from a resilience and a trust perspective, we can also apply those same capabilities to detect frauds, to weed out cyber threats, to look at other operational issues much earlier, and thus helping any organizations respond faster, and most importantly, with a lot more confidence than they have done before. So what is it? What do you think it means really at the end of the day? Is that the value is not in adopting AI for its own sake. The value therefore comes from connecting AI to priority business outcomes, to clean data, govern processes, and the way that people actually work. So here we have, in essence, a flywheel effect to it all, where D365 encourages a culture of most importantly, continuous improvement and continuous innovation. So through analytics, some elements of low-code extensibility and modular applications, organizations and businesses such as yourselves can test, refine, scale new ways of working without major disruption behind the scenes. And that in turn enables businesses to evolve faster, to respond to customer expectations more effectively, and of course, build resilience over those time periods. So in summary, for this slide, Microsoft Dynamics business applications encourage the journey to business excellence by helping organizations become more connected, become more intelligent, become more automated, and become more adaptive, all of which are essential characteristics of a frontier firm and becoming a frontier firm. And just 2 slides left before I give Mark a good grilling in terms of a fireside chat. But 9 in 10 businesses use AI in at least one business function at the moment, but it's not balanced across different verticals and different markets. That's actually only 88% in tech software, 62% in healthcare, 34% in education, and I've put one up here, but 79% for financial services. And then just to conclude this little section, within D365, we're bringing together customer engagement, operations, and insight into that one intelligent cloud-based platform, so that businesses can see what is really happening and make better decisions, as I've already said, faster, and in turn and able to turn that ambition into action. With automating everyday work and embedding intelligence into core processes, business applications are also helping organizations improve performance, strengthen that customer experience, and get way more value from the investment that's been put into the technology itself. So we're providing a practical pathway to becoming a frontier firm by connecting the data and people and processes. We're combining those AI-driven insights and that automation and the integrated workflows to increase agility and deliver more consistent customer and operational outcomes. And then the result is that what we're becoming is a more connected, intelligent, and adaptive organization that is, in essence, better equipped to drive sustainable business excellence, and starts us off or becomes that frontier firm. So just going to introduce to you in a couple of short moments to Mark Armstrong. He is the ICT manager. Mark, do you just want to kind of say a couple of quick words just to say hello?
Yeah, hello, I'm Mark Armstrong. I'm the ICT manager for the Omex group of companies. We're a manufacturing company based in Lincolnshire, mainly selling liquid fertilizer. So based in rural Lincolnshire, probably not a company most people expect to be sort of high tech, but yeah, that's what we do. Yeah, that's me really.
Good, thanks. So from our perspective, and as a transparency customer, Omex is a a credible frontier firm candidate because Mark and his team has already moved beyond a basic Microsoft relationship into a broader platform journey and has invested in Business Central through us with ongoing consultancy and support activity. But they're also interested in adjacent Microsoft capabilities, not just maintaining the core systems, but actively considering how the wider Microsoft stack can improve visibility and efficiency across the business. And for a firm with some complex logistics, commercial and supply chain demands, that creates a strong, we hope, foundation for deeper strategic Microsoft alignment and further conversations. So looking back at Omex's Microsoft journey so far, Mark, what have been the biggest milestones in moving from core systems and modernization into a broader platform relationship?
Yeah, so if I look back at our journey, we started with quite sort of disconnected legacy platforms. Very much we was in the Microsoft world at that point, but we had a disconnected on-prem system for our ERP. So I think one of the early milestones that were quite big was our looking at Power Platform and getting involvement in that, and that made us realise that we needed to embrace the platform, the cloud more, because we couldn't use the Power Platform like we wanted to. So we moved on and we went put BC into our Business Central, into our business, and by enabling us to have that platform in the cloud has really enabled us to use Power Platform so much more in so many different areas. So a major milestone has been embracing the Power Platform. It's enabled us to combine BC data and business processes. So we basically look at Microsoft now as a strategic partner and a strategic platform that we're going to use rather than just a collection of applications, which is where we were before.
And with Business Central and the Power Platform being in place at the core of the business, do you see Omex as being in a stabilization, optimization, or innovation mode?
Yeah, well, I would say really we're in all of those modes all at the same time. So with Business Central, we're in probably more of a stabilization mode. We've got 7 businesses in the UK, and we are still yet to make one of those businesses live on BC. The other businesses and that one are going to be, definitely in a period of stabilization for us, just getting used to that, making sure our processes are working well, etc. But yeah, we definitely got areas of the business that we are optimizing. Again, some of the earlier businesses that have gone into Business Central are definitely looking to optimize their processes. But outside of Business Central, business processes, we are looking to optimize things. We're looking to improve workflows, do things better, and then innovation-wise, we're always innovating. As an IT department, we're always keeping up to date with what Microsoft's got coming next. It's sometimes quite tricky to keep up with everything Microsoft and all the new stuff that they're bringing out. But we're always looking at, and I'm definitely looking at that to say, okay, Microsoft have brought this thing out, or we are innovating, and they've got a new service. How do we then use that to solve the problems that we're facing on a day-to-day basis?
So just then you mentioned a couple of legacy businesses and legacy systems, but not legacy processes themselves, I guess. But are there any legacy customizations or processes or workarounds that are still limiting what you're trying to do with the Microsoft platform?
Yeah, I think processes wise, we've got legacy processes where people are doing we're still doing too much manual processes, especially in our finance department. So we're going to be working with transparency on that to review our financial processes and see what we can automate, see what we can improve. One of our problems we've had as a business is we've had quite a lot of staff turnover recently in one of the businesses, and it's just shown that we need to automate things. We need to make things better in those areas. So I think with a full review of the finance processes and other processes in the business, we'll find areas where we can use AI to improve, especially with with the staff turnover, one of the things we've been doing recently is to look at how do we onboard staff more efficiently and how do we bring them up to speed with our processes quicker. So we've been using AI to do that, to enable people to access data within our business, because we've got a lot of data in our business, but to access information that helps them do their job. I mean, that's quite basic, but that's been one of our big first steps into the world of AI.
And does that extend to reporting and decision intelligence gaps?
Yeah, so we're a data-led business. We definitely require data to make decisions, but we definitely have a challenge around data at the moment. Again, it's another area that we've engaged with Transparency on. So reporting-wise, we've rolled out Microsoft Fabric, and that's working quite well for us. But what we have as a problem internally is we only have one person in the business that's dealing with that. It's a great product, and it's definitely given us more insights than we've ever had before. But we need to take that next step, and we want to start looking at things like how do we use AI to make decisions based on that data that's in Fabric, that's quite well structured. But we need help externally, again through Transparency, to help us realise that and make that a success.
So it sounds like there's still a few kind of fragmented processes within the business or businesses. Are there any other, manual or email-driven processes that you want to digitize next?
Yeah, so there's quite a few. To be fair, I've picked out the main one really.
We haven't got long, Mark.
So the main one we've got really is that we're currently looking at our order creation process and how do we improve that. So we are using like APIs, like you would a traditional EDI, to bring orders into our system via Azure, and that's from our bigger customers. But what we want to look at is how do we improve that process for the smaller customers who are emailing us an order. So that'll be the next big one that we look at, I think, and that'll take us. That'll make a massive improvement for our business. We do on a day-to-day basis make errors on order input, pricing errors and things like that, and that they sound like normal problems and normal things to deal with, but actually it has caused us a big problem over the last 2 years. So we need to resolve that one.
So I guess they could be termed as kind of smaller processes, but are there any kind of wider, larger business processes that you most want to improve next using Microsoft technology and platforms?
So there's a couple of things that we're looking at, and there's I don't know how you term it, like a dream thing that we're looking at as well at the moment. So definitely CRM, our customer service side of things is very fragmented. Our information about our customers is held in all kinds of different places, and there aren't any processes there. We definitely need to do that. Our business is very much about customer service. So if there's anything we can do to improve customer service, we will do it, and I believe that AI is definitely going to help us. I was quite surprised when I saw the demonstration of D365 sales, about how much can be done in there with AI automatic for you. So we're not having to develop it, we're not having to do anything new. It's actually just using what Microsoft have already identified and are doing for you. It's just it's more of a onboarding us onto that and getting us using it and adopting it.
And that kind of innovation and standard out of the box functionality within Microsoft technologies is obviously contributing towards any organization becoming a frontier firm. What does that mean for you and for Omex in practical business terms over the next year or two?
Becoming a frontier firm for us is all about using that Microsoft portfolio to help us achieve our objectives. We are very embedded into the Microsoft ecosystem. We know we can get more out of it because there's so much there for us to use, and really what we need to be able to do is to innovate, and what that ecosystem is going to allow us to do is to innovate at quite low cost, I think, but also be able to scale that as and when we have redesigned a process or redesigned a system. that's at the point we'll be able to scale because Microsoft's going to be able to do that. And then ultimately what that means is we can transform faster.
And that drive to transform faster and that growth agenda, of course, you know, we've been encouraging you along that kind of journey and stuff as a business. But is it an efficiency agenda? Is it an IT modernization agenda, or is it driven by the board?
All of the above, basically. Do the board want to use AI? Yes, they absolutely do. Do they know why and how? No, they don't. And I think I hear it a lot in the networking events I go to that businesses want to use AI, but they're not quite sure how. We're definitely in that sort of situation, really. We are using AI, but we know we can make more use of it. Is it an efficiency agenda? Yeah, we want to do more. Basically, we want to enable our employees to do more and be more efficient in what they do and add more value. Take away the things that AI can do and let the employee add more value to the business. And absolutely, that involves modernisation. And we definitely have a transformation plan going forward to modernise areas of the business that haven't been touched already.
Interesting. So there's a transformation plan that's already been designed. What kind of high value use cases, specifically for Copilot, for Fabric, and for Power Platform, as you've already mentioned, are part of that, or have they already been implemented to a certain extent?
Yeah, so we've implemented Fabric and a Power Platform. We're using quite a lot of the areas of Power Platform, from Power Pages, Power Automate, Power Apps, model-driven Power Apps as well. So we've rolled them out, but I think what we want to use, there'll be areas that we're looking at that will be able to bring those things together, and bring those things together help us make better decisions. One of the areas we aspire to improve would be transport planning. I think you mentioned it at the start. We have quite complex transport management system, and I think by bringing together good quality data in Fabric, and things like Copilot, Copilot Studio, those kind of things, we'll be able to look at planning and make it more efficient.
So it sounds like using AI across, multiple facets of the organization. Is there any particular focus or sway towards using it as productivity, as process automation, or as a source of customer facing differentiation?
I don't think the company's ready at the moment to do customer facing necessarily, but absolutely we're already using it for productivity. The use of Copilot, and we've heard earlier about how the people are using all the generative chat, ChatGPT and Claude and things like that. There's a lot of people in our business that are using that, and it is actually enabling us. I mean, Copilot we've rolled out to quite a few people, and it is really helping them become more productive. What we need to do is take it that step further, and go down the agent area and look at how we can use agents to help people do even more.
And have you and the wider business and the board looked at where AI can deliver the most measurable impact for Omex as an organisation, as a group of companies?
The problem is as a business, and I think again, other people I talk to in various businesses have said that they don't know what to do when it comes to using AI. And I think for us, what we've decided to do is just say, okay, we're not going to come up with a specific AI plan, but what we're going to do is look at all our different projects, our different problems and processes that we're going to review, and say, how can AI help us in this situation? How does Microsoft help us use AI in this situation? But when it comes to measurable impact, we find that quite tricky because we don't know what we want to do in the first place. But what I fully expect as a business is that we will find more benefit in a project that we didn't expect to find that benefit in. We'll have 2 or 3 projects that involve AI, and one will offer far more benefit than we realised.
Great. And look, we could probably chat all day on this. Well, not all day, but as one final question, what would a truly Microsoft powered competitive advantage look like for Omex?
So, like I said earlier, our business is really hugely based on customer service. So, a competitive advantage from Microsoft, a Microsoft powered competitive advantage to us just looks like being a better choice in the market, because we can adapt faster, because we can scale our services quicker, because we can do more and be more efficient. That's what will be a competitive advantage to us, and using Microsoft Stack is absolutely going to enable us to do that.
Fabulous. Thanks, Mark. Thanks for your time. One thing I don't think we said earlier was that there is a chat facility within this webinar. So if you do have any questions that have cropped up so far, or want to kind of ask Mark those, we can do our best to kind of answer them in the background during this next session. But for now, I'm going to hand over to our solutions director here at Transparity, Joss Anglesey, who's going to be talking us through the rest of the presentation.
Thank you very much. Yeah, so we're going to drop on to the demo part momentarily, but I think we've heard some really good thoughts so far. So a little bit of a small reflection section, and then we can get into the meat of the demonstrations. Teeing this up as best I can here, I think we've seen it and already heard a few areas whereby the part that's kind of missing is the execution part. The technology is definitely already in play and is getting progressively better all the time. I think it's probably one of the most common things on a lot of social media threads where you're seeing, oh, another new model has come out, brilliant, what can I throw at it and make it do instead? Yes, and another subset of stats here, some really good research that's been conducted. When we're stepping on to these kind of conversations, and even before we do really start to showcase things, so these are some of the things that we're hearing around the rooms and that we get to sit in on, and workshops that we get to run, going beyond those kind of personal productivity aspects and dropping it into process, and how do we actually go about doing that with a AI business solutions hat or lens and against it. Where can we be a more solid guide on those things? And is the blocker actually a capability thing anymore? I think we're sensing it absolutely isn't. It's more of a confidence thing. So it's having that confidence of understanding the cost metrics of having these things in play, what the new subscription capabilities are, and it's no longer just a feature function comparison thing. Probably 12 months ago, when I was dropping onto workshops or demonstration conversations, AI was kind of an area on the agenda, but it wouldn't just be a continuous thread. And I think that's probably what we're now seeing, is that it is a continuous thread. And in terms of how my colleague Mark is going to go on to demonstrate, you'll see that's precisely what it is for us from this point onwards. To help us with that notion of it's no longer a tech issue, it's more of an execution thing, having some kind of maturity curve to help us out there and understanding what each of those different pillars play out to be is particularly useful. And again, adapting this to a business applications type of layer, what we're noticing from people who are able to adopt various elements of Dynamics 365 is that they're kind of more coming towards this middle pillar, as it were, because having a very stable and well-governed platform, which does have high levels of extensibility and services multiple user communities, lets you step into this more mature right-hand side aspect, where we can start to see a lot more of these dials can be turned on and progressed. And at the moment, I'm kind of more seeing a lot of my conversations in this far left section, and sometimes that's quite an exciting place to be. You've got somebody who's maybe coming to, Mark from Mobooks was just mentioning they're letting Shadow AI be a concept for them. So it's not just about proprietary Microsoft tools, they're allowing the other toolings to be used there. And I'm sure he loves someone coming to him and saying, look what I produced. I think this is something that we should be doing. But if you haven't thought about where you're going to go to within this curve, that could quite quickly go from being very enthusiastic and excited about something to be a little bit on the deflated side, because you haven't got something for it to snap into, for it to become production grade. And this is why I think AI business solutions is getting you a step beyond that process, because something that I heard at a fairly recent dinner that I got to go to, where was Microsoft attendance, is that they were getting peppered with questions on, why are you behind Anthropic? Why are you behind DeepSeek? Why are you behind all these other competitors and players that are there? And the answer was pretty compelling, I thought. It was more to do with, look, we produce capability and solutions and value which is enterprise grade, and it's ready for that market. Now, we'll probably all be varying company sizes, and what you'll notice straight away is that not all of us are enterprise grade, but we get to adopt and utilize that kind of technology and capability for the subscription fees and metered usage points that are available to us. So I think that's where I feel very comfortable being in a Microsoft story, and being able to allow us to kind of go up on this curve as a result of that. To leave you with some kind of framework addition to what we've just seen there from a maturity context, what can we do to help us get there and have those conversations internally? By virtue of turning up to an event like this, it empowers you with more information and clout within your own organizations to go ahead and do some things. So there's pretty much just a simple, nice anagram for us to use here, BXT. So it is very much thinking about that kind of A to Z process that you might have of, let's say it was something in purchasing, but for instance, lots of different communication touch points within a purchasing department, unstructured, structured data, got to do a bit of reconditioning of those things. So there's definitely viability from a business standpoint that you would get some productivity gains probably there, and some data quality gains as well in addition to that, especially if you've got a very long tail in terms of what your supplier network might look like. Thereafter, it's the experience piece. So is even making an improvement to how I communicate back to my suppliers, as an example, is that something that is motivating and compelling enough that it's going to give us a bit of an extra gain, and it steps somebody as a user away from having to worry about it, and then it steps them on to more progressive and important things. If the answers are looking like they're mostly green and mostly yeses, then I think then we go to the technology layer. That feels like it's less of an issue anymore. It was probably front and center 2-3 years ago, but I don't think we're at that stage anymore. And the build tools that are available to us, especially from a AI business solutions standpoint, we've got ready to rock ones, and then we've got the additional build tools on top of that. And that kind of nicely gives us a segue to drop towards demo. But momentarily before we do so, we would like to run a poll with you. So one of my colleagues is going to drop that over into the chat capability. It's more just to capture where are you actually at in terms of your maturity journey. So Shay nicely launching that for us. We'll kind of keep abreast of what the results are looking like as we're stepping through the remainder of the presentation. But I would like to introduce Mark Ross Innes at this point, and he is going to bring some of these things to life.
And unmute. You should see the demo screen and hear me now.
Oh, good.
Super. Yeah, so I wanted to just expand on that maturity model that Josh was talking about earlier, and just show some of the pieces and some examples of what it would look like to be at one or more of those different stages that make up that maturity model. And to do that, I'm going to be using a few different demo scenarios, a few different assets. It is all live software. Normally in a one-to-one demo, I'd sort of say questions as we go and help me, understand what's of interest to you. But as this is a webinar, I'll just be taking you through those different milestones. So I'll start off with a proof of concept. A lot of organizations realize that AI is available. It pops up in their navigation, or it comes bundled with one of the other technologies that they've got, and they start to test it out with very, very specific use cases, very, very specific user communities to help identify, is this something that we can get value from, and is it something that we can release to a wider user community or a bigger part of the organization to get value from it. And quite often what that starts with is just something like the chat over here. Effectively, this is M365 Copilot Chat, and in this space, if you've got a license, you can switch between web chat and business chat, effectively exploring assets inside your tenant, or just using sort of websites to look at the different or grounding it on public websites to bring content together. And this is very useful. This can do a lot of work for you and with you, but it is definitely something that traditionally you've got to, every time you ask it a question, you've got to frame it, you've got to ground it, you've got to give it context and knowledge in order for it to do its work and add value to the process that you're running. But as you can see down the left-hand side here, you've also got the ability to effectively create agent models that you can save and that you can reuse within the organization and potentially share with other people as well. So down here on the left-hand side, we've got the customer risk agent. Oh, let me just hide that one. I've got the customer risk agent. Now, what I've done here is I've used Copilot to effectively build Copilot agents to help me with a specific repeatable set of instructions and knowledge and skills to help me with a task that I do regularly. So for example, if I'm customer facing, I want to have an agent that goes off and looks at different places, different knowledge sets within my organization, and identifies risks from documents and files and things like that. So one of the things you can do here is you can chat to the application, and it'll build out and extend and improve the agent itself. That agent, I can hit the update button that pushes it back to my M365 tenant, and I can even choose to share that with specific users, or indeed with a wider organization, so that the work that I've done to create those instructions and those knowledge sets which are relevant for that workload can be reused by other people. And that's great. It's doing a proof of concept, evidencing to the organization that we've got this repeatable AI workload, which is supporting a particular business function. It is really useful being able to evidence those outcomes and get different user communities on board. But quite often these agents, which if we leave it to sort of uncontrolled proof of concept, if everything is sort of organic testing and growing, you can end up with lots of versions of the same agent spotted around the organization. You can end up with inefficient agents which burn through credits very, very quickly. Or indeed, you can end up with sort of partial agents that are doing some of the work but not really doing as much as they could. So it's always good when you're building these elements to think about what are my target user community, what are the sort of business outcomes that I wanted to support, and how can I exploit and leverage the models and the services and the capabilities within the Microsoft tech stack to support what I'm doing and support the proof of concept workload that I'm undertaking. But a great place to start, effectively not always starting from the ground up and having to reuse a message that worked for me last time, effectively building repeatable models, testing those and sharing those with user communities to see how they're working as well. So that was an example of proof of concept, some of the ways that we can help with that. The next tier up ultimately is production AI. So it's not just sort of a specific user community. It's not just a test and we're trying it out and seeing if it has any impact and we get feedback from a specific user community. Now we're talking about a more mature approach to actually production AI being part of your organization. But of course, just doing one or two pieces from a workload perspective. It's available. It is in production, but it's sort of to one side. It's just augmenting a particular process that you might have already. And I thought, what better use case here than something that I started using it for. One of the first use cases where I started using generative AI in my work, and that is answering RFIs, request for informations. Traditionally, if I got a list of questions that I had to work on, be it 100 or 400, I'd sit and knowing the product, I'd put my answer in, and to evidence that, I'd go and find the knowledge article on Microsoft's website. And effectively, that was fine. I felt like, I've been relatively successful in the past with that. But ultimately, this knowledge is now available to us. And this sort of repeatable workload, especially when it's grounded on something which is a publicly available data source, is something where you can get in-app agents, effectively co-work agents, to work alongside you in the way that we complete some of these items. So this example, there is a Microsoft website. It's learn.microsoft.com. They've got lots and lots of detailed information about individual products or services that they've got. And if you've been working in the industry for many, many years, you probably know the answers, and this is just sort of backing it up. When they release new features, this is available here. But when you've got 400 questions to answer by Monday, getting a Copilot, getting a co-working sort of agent to assist with this can be really useful. So launching Copilot inside Excel, and I've got a little, here's one that I made earlier. I'm just going to copy a little prompt here. In this prompt, I'm telling it to go and look at that website. I'm telling it, who I am, what sort of answers I need, what quality answers look like. I can, for example, add to this and say, make the answer 50 words into paragraphs, for example. And then I can send it off to work with me. I've given this particular Copilot instance, this co-work instance, the ability to edit the document that I'm currently working on. And we can see how it's working. It's looking for documents. It's looking to see if there's a good match for the different questions that are in there. And effectively, it's going to go and compile different information and check its work as it starts to execute that as well. Live demo, so I'm hoping it's going to behave like it did when I tested this earlier today. So you can see it's looking through specific features and comparing some of the questions to specific features that are documented on Microsoft's website. And in a few moments, it's going to finish and update my sheet live in front of us with some answers, which are the starting point for me to start to add value and add experience into the way that these pieces are being delivered. So I've got my 7 steps that are completed. It's looked through the different data sets it's got access to that I focused it on. It's confirmed things. It's even gone and made sure that the answers meet the criteria that I specified. And I've got some useful, some accurate information here that I can now use as grounding for answering these questions and getting back to customer with something which is grounded on Microsoft data sets, accurate, and hopefully enhanced by me to add some of the specific transparency elements to that. So that's just an example of AI in the organization. It is being used in production, but it's really playing a sort of a backup role in some of the work that I already do, adding efficiency, reducing risk, and putting together sort of an accelerated experience for me as a worker in the way that I deliver pieces. The next step really is still looking at its production AI, but instead of just working alongside me and adding content to something that I'm going to do, where I still own the end-to-end process, but effectively it's contributing to a part of that. We're going to look at an example where an entire sort of a piece of work, at least sort of an initial pass that you might have, reviewing complex documentation, comparing it to different, and using instructions to go and process documents on our behalf, how we can bring that into one of our core processes. In this example, I'm going to be switching to one of our accelerators. So this is actually a private equity accelerator that we've built, and a number of our customers are very successful with this. And this use case is It is running inside Dynamics, and it's running automatically in the background, helping me with work and helping me reduce risk and speed up delivery of a particular phase of work with the way that I'm handling deals. In this instance, I'm jumping into an area of the application that we've built. So you can see we've customized the Dynamics app significantly to support this specific business vertical. And one of the pieces I've added in here is this idea of point-in-time deal analysis. And the reason we named it point-in-time deal analysis is if you get AI to run and effectively generate results based on the time that it ran, if it's referencing different parameters, if it's looking at market data, if it's looking at your current strategy, and we create an outcome when it runs, it's important to realize that unless you're updating it, unless you're sort of rerunning that workload, that is an assessment that happened at a particular point in time. And actually, in many instances where we are running AI and we're grounding it on third-party data or on business data, which is evolving over time, if we rerun the same agent on the same data, but at a different time, it should generate a new answer, a new outcome, and potentially new guidance for a particular user community. So attached to a particular deal, in this case, Project Graphite, I've uploaded a document. It's reviewed the document, said it's pretty low quality. It doesn't really meet the standard from a business plan perspective. And it's got some summary information and some recommendations off the back of that. What that looks like is I'm going to go and do a new one now. So you can see this one was done on the 8th. I can go and choose a file from my data, from my sample data here. Can upload that to the business application. And as soon as that is uploaded, then I can run here. Oh, let me just hit the save button now that I've got a document, and I can hit the analyze button. And what that's doing is it'll pass that business plan to AI, and it'll bring back some results back into the application to help me with the decision-making process there. So let's just go back to the pitter list. You can see the one that I ran today for Project Graphite, and in a few moments that's going to update with all the outcomes from that agent running. So you can see there it's not just a case of me having to prompt and build things and tell it where the document is and things like that. Effectively, we've got the management layer of what's needed to effectively trigger this agent built into the application. We're using Power Automate to go and collect information, to put it in a place and to run a particular set of instructions off the back of that agent. And we've also got a full audit capability where we can actually look at, is it running? How frequently is it running? Is it saving us time? We've also got sort of some reports coming off the back of that saying how effective is it, how efficient is it, and how's it improving people's outcomes. And through another sort of, because we're running it through Power Automate, another service we've got off the back of this is we can interrogate how long is it taking, which assets is it using, and how's it driving the outcomes that it's getting to. So I am really hoping if I hit the refresh button now, there we go. So this is the one that I ran just a few seconds ago. Actually, it's I used a different document to cheat it a little bit, but it's seeing it's a better quality match for what we're expecting for a document like this. It's got an outcome which is different, and ultimately it's generating different outcomes that we can capture, store in the application, and that we can use to understand how is this fit changing over time. What is the quality of the deal that we're looking at? And this is really it's in the core process. It's a fundamental part of deal management for organizations that use this accelerator. But we're using AI to do some initial pass-throughs and maybe score things and extract items that people need to focus on as they work on this deal. With all of that background audit and efficiency management capabilities as well. And then the final one, really, thinking about agentic AI systems. This is where an organization, instead of effectively having a relatively standard linear process and maybe finding one or two opportunities for AI to be introduced into that, this is an example where and potentially an entire business function, an entire sort of a team function can be assisted with one or more agents running alongside them, doing work on their behalf, and ultimately improving efficiency, improving accuracy, and de-risking some of those processes as well. To do this, I'm going to jump into another one of my demo systems, which is down here. Oh, keep working. And I've got a couple of different places on this one screen. There are actually quite a number of different AI capabilities coming to life. One of them is I've got this idea of a sales research agent. So this is really for a sales manager to go in and use some pre-existing prompts or even custom prompts to go and explore all of the different sales, in this case, sort of lead and opportunity data that exists inside the application. Now, this is a potentially quite a highly complex analysis capability that's leveraging data, reporting, visualizations, a lot of different capabilities in the way that we're exploring data. And a couple of other scenarios you've got. You can see agent feed in the top top left-hand corner here. If I've got agents running in the background and they need human in the loop, or there's an action where we've built the agent in such a way where a human needs to make the decision that is then going to be interpreted by that agent and affect the rest of the workload. This is effectively where those agents are going to be telling the users, I need help here, or I've done the thing you've asked me to do, so that we can keep tabs on our digital colleagues, on our AI colleagues in the way that they're executing the work alongside us. And finally, and most obviously, within my CRM system, of course, I've got the ability to make and record calls and have AI run across those calls. I've got the ability to use Teams and have Teams make recommendations and bring people together to support my work. And of course, I've also got Copilot, where I can use Copilot in sales to have ad hoc support and explore some of the data and the milestones and actions within my application on the right hand side. So one screen, lots of different places where how I interact with the application, how I deliver my work within this technology is being augmented and supported by agents. But the one that I wanted to focus on, really, where it's doing a significant set of work or a significant part of my job as a salesperson on my behalf, is effectively looking at is for high value deals or specific subset of deals, to actually go and do some research, do some proper deal analysis, customer analysis, competitor analysis, stakeholder, and all the different pieces. And for this one, I'm using one of the research agents that's been designed by Microsoft, is available to with any customer using Dynamics 365 Sales Enterprise or above. And if I was to jump into that opportunity, you can see here that I've got my opportunity. Because it's over a certain value, it's going to be focusing in, it's going to actually run the agent to help me with that analysis. And the top here, you can see it's already identifying some information that I should be aware of. Now, it might be that actually these high priority deal statuses are the only thing I need to do, and I can just use the summary. Or, of course, I could delve into more detail. I can say, show me all of the research that this agent has done on my behalf about this opportunity inside the application. You can see here, as I scroll through this, it's identified 6 different risks that need action. So, for example, here I can see it's identified different pieces from data points, different pieces from activities that are marked in the application. It's recommending different actions. I can feed back to the agent and say, yes, this is helpful. I can say I've addressed that particular issue, and that feeds back into the application, and other users can see how I'm starting to work on this as well. But also, it's actually got a full narrative here with regards to some of the critical risks, some of the different product and sort of signal-based research that it's come back with. And it's even able to go and look at the different stakeholders, the sort of match of pain points that they've spoken about during different activities. It can even do SWOT analysis, looking at the strengths, weaknesses, and opportunities and threats against the different competitors that we might be aware of working on this deal, and of course different opportunity health in here as well. Effectively using MedPick to look at what are the different items or areas within the deal that need to be addressed, or at least, even if they have been addressed, that the data needs to be added back into the application so that we can be successful with this particular opportunity. So you can see there's lots of work happening in the background. It's happening autonomously. In fact, this particular research was run 30 days ago. You can have it refresh automatically, or indeed you can tell each salesperson to manually refresh it, when it's appropriate for them. And this is just an example of one of the many. This is an example of one of the many agents that you could have. Now, this is just a subset. You can have custom agents. You can have some of the standard sort of first-party agents that Microsoft has authored. And you can have lots of these agents running in the background, doing work on your user community's behalf, bringing back those research, those outcomes, and those different pieces to the organization to de-risk those business functions and improve those outcomes. In fact, this little recommendations agent was released by Microsoft and made available to me as the recommendations agent, recommended actions agent. And this was actually released into my demo environment last night at 32 minutes past midnight. So that's just, yet more examples of where Microsoft is centrally designing and building some of these assets, which would be useful to people in the sales environment, publishing those and making those available to our customers and even to us as a Dynamics 365 user community to improve the way that we execute and use AI to deliver some of those workloads. But these aren't just generic. These aren't just any opportunity research type capabilities. They are configured in the background where we tell them who we are, what it is that we do as an organization and why it's good to work with us. We can select, which sort of opportunities should it run on. We can even point it at specific research sources, which might be unique to my organization. For example, if we're going to be researching customers, what are the specific assets or websites that it should go to find out information about our customers? What are the places it should go to find out information about our competitors? We can even add in some custom research criteria and define what's important. What are the risk criteria that we should be highlighting, and what are the importance of the different risk criteria as well. So this means that we're configuring this agent to be aware of my business, be aware of my industry, and therefore when it's running, it's delivering contextual, focused results, which I can actually use in order to change my behavior, understand my opportunities, reduce risk, and be more successful within the sales function inside my organization. So that's really just a great example of one or more agents working independently or in tandem, automatically within specific records, and improving awareness of me as a user, so that I can be more successful in the way that I'm contributing to the workload that application is managing. And those are the pieces that I wanted to focus on. I think at this point we're going to be moving to Q&A and seeing if there are any questions that we can jump into. And I'm going to give control to James to move on as and when that's appropriate.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. Fascinating as always, and as usual with you, outside the normal tolerance levels for time control. But there's no questions that anybody's put in the chat facility, and I don't know if there's any that anybody wants to raise at this stage. So feel free to add them in there, or if there's any that have come in, Shay, that you're aware of, or anybody from the Transparency team. So one quick one: if we're at the early stages of our AI journey, what should we be prioritizing first to actually get momentum? Probably aim that towards Mark and to Jess if she's still on the call.
Yep, I'm still here.
Hi, Jess. Sorry, just couldn't see your face. Apologies. So that's if we're at the early stages of our AI journey, what should we be prioritizing first to actually get momentum?
Sorry, could you say that again?
Probably. If we're at the early stages of our AI journey, which was 26% of our audience today, what should we be prioritizing first to actually get momentum?
Yeah, I think earlier when I talked in our presentation, there's different ways to approach it. You could definitely have champions, like we're saying, the frontier professionals. There's actually quite a lot of I'm definitely sure that every organization have individuals who have played around with ChatGPT, with Anthropic, with all these tools. So there's actually probably a very good and strong base of people that are quite keen to use these tools and probably already using them without the organization knowing it, probably incorrectly or without governance standards. So I think what I'm seeing more and more of is that the bottom push up is already there. And I think it just needs organizations to almost top down to enable those people to really shine through some of the experimentation they're doing. I think that is, identify those champs, identify those experts. I think the other way to do it is, of course, working with partners like yourself. I think it's the classic, like any tech transformation where you go through that design thinking cycle of, what are the use cases we want to tackle? What are the problems we're trying to solve? Let's do a little bit of ideation. Let's come up with a backlog and let's prioritize, right? Let's prioritize based on where we think the biggest problems are, where we think the readiness is, and work from there. I think that's another way to approach it, where it's a bit more familiar with the way we do tech transformation and just put up your design thinking cap, do some backlog prioritization and work from the top and go down. What we're seeing is that, firms take different approaches. Some of them just give everyone a license. Obviously, there's credits and things involved, but, allowing experimentation and finding where the value is and have that scale. But then, yes, there are other times where people just want to take a POC approach and take it slow and find a strong business case before they want to roll it out to the rest of the organization. So there's just some thoughts I have, and there's no right answer, but different ways that people can approach it depending on how ready they are with this.
No, fantastic. And just one more follow-up, which has just come through as well. In that prioritization that you were just talking about, and where organizations are experimenting with AI, and what's the biggest challenge that Microsoft and yourself have seen when it comes to scaling that across the business?
I think, well, Microsoft, in terms of what we see, because we're a very big technology platform and we unfortunately have made it more complicated by announcing new products every week. So there's multiple ways to do it. So interestingly, I think I feel like we, obviously, if customers come to us, they already have the intent to explore AI and use that to transform their business processes. But we very much sometimes get into a architectural debate of, should I build this? Should I use Azure? Should I, just turn on a first-party agent? And I think comes down to a buy versus build, which one is the most sustainable way to maintain or just even cost the business, CapEx versus OpEx. So in an interesting way at Microsoft, what we're seeing is that we're spending a lot of time exploring the right way to architect it. And I sometimes feel like we lose the view of like we're trying to just do business transformation here. So I think that's something where I think partners like yourself can definitely lean into, because you work with so many customers directly in that building phase, and maybe you can help guide customers what the best approach is. But that is something that I find quite interesting, which, yes, there's the business case that's really hard to build, or there's the adoption that's really hard to build. And I think every customer has a different flavor. But in an interesting way, there's a technology architecture piece that we see a lot of customers struggling with as well.
Fabulous. Thank you, Jess, and thank you to everybody that's attended today. We have just one more slide. Thank you for that. That is just kind of next steps. We are hosting an in-person event on the 30th of June. Yes, you heard that right, an in-person event. And seeing as this is a slide just in the chat, I've just popped up that link within the chat. So please do kind of log on to that and attend on the 30th of June. It's in central London at the Design Museum, which is Kensington Way, I believe. But please do have a look and see if you're free on that day. We'd love to host you and meet you in person. And with that, I'd just like to extend my thanks to Mark and to Jess. Thank you so much for joining us today. To my colleagues at Transparity, thank you as well. And I hope that everybody on this call, thank you for joining us. Thank you for bearing with us. And I hope you found it of use. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day. Take care.